Welcome to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good in our community. And also, too, talking about women making a difference, a collective impact. We are joined by Michele Herlein. She is the president and on the board of directors with Impact100 Nashville. And when you talk about women coming together to make a difference, this all starts with you, Michele, and some friends from Bridgestone Americas coming together. And so let's start with a little bit of the backstory, the context. Give us some history for launching Impact100 Nashville.
That's great. Thank you so much for having me, Jeremy. And that is correct. Back in 2014, two other women that I worked with at Bridgestone decided to start Impact100 Nashville. One of them, Jolene Skinner, had been part of Impact Austin. In Impact Austin, she was living in Austin and joined and loved it. And when they moved to Nashville, her husband told her, why don't you start Impact Nashville? And she looked at him and said, why would I do that? And he said, because it's the only thing that you're involved in that brings you energy and joy and you don't complain about. So we set out to become a 501c3. Within 4 months, we were a 501c3. And in 2015, it was our first year where we had 26 members and gave away $26,000.
And so talk about the model, because as you mentioned, it's a proven model. And all of a sudden now you have an ability to literally bring people in, women in, and collectively make a large impact. So talk about how it works.
Yeah, it is a really great model. And there are over 60 impacts across our country and even in Australia. So it is a global organization. And the model is one woman, $1,000, one vote. So when a woman joins, they pay $1,000 to join, and all of their $1,000 goes to the nonprofit to which we decide together that we're going to award. So this year, for example, I said we were 26,000 in 2015. In 2021, we just gave away $204,000 to two different Nashville nonprofits. And so that means we had 204 women and we had $204,000 to give away. We end our membership process in early June, and that's how we know how much money we have. And then we start our grant process where we put out, we ask for nonprofits to apply for our grant, initially with just a one-page LOI, because we know how challenging it is to write a full-on grant. So we say, give us a letter of interest, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're going to do with our money. This year we had 54 nonprofits send in LOIs. We have a member volunteer committee that reviews all those LOIs, and then they narrow it down. And they narrowed it down to, this year I believe it was 14 that were asked to submit full-on grants. So then we dig into the finances and the leadership of the nonprofit. And then from the grant applications, the grant committee narrows that down. This year it was narrowed down to 8, where we actually invite all of our members to go on on-site visits, meet a recipient of their services, meet someone on their board of directors, meet people in their leadership, and those who deliver the services. And that's our semifinalists. And from there, we narrow it down to the finalists that are invited to a voting event where all members come. The nonprofits give their pitch, and that night we vote on who we're going to give our money to.
Is there any sort of strategic focus around the nonprofits and the initiatives? And I'm thinking, when you talk about women coming together, serving women's causes or children's causes, are there certain kind of strategic focus areas for the group?
Yeah, there are. We've partnered with the Community Foundation and the Center for Nonprofit Management to really understand what the needs are in our community. So we want to make sure we're having an impact that really matters. So we've partnered with them to learn more about the nonprofit community. And then we have a criteria on selecting nonprofits or a category that we call ending the cycle. So we want nonprofits that are working to end the cycle of whatever it is they're serving. So if it's ending the cycle of homelessness or ending the cycle of drug addiction or ending the cycle of domestic violence, their work and the grant has to contribute to stopping that from happening.
Gotcha. Do you decide ahead of time how much money, how many nonprofits, will be impacted? Or is it one of those where it's kind of a game time decision once you get to the vote and you say, these are the two that really stand out, let's split the money then and kind of go there? So in other words, is that a predetermined number of nonprofits and amount, or is it let's kind of see where we fall with the votes?
We make that decision once we know how many members we have. So in the early June timeframe, so right now we're recruiting for 2022. And in June of 2022, we'll know how many members we have. And our goal for 2022 is 300 members. So we have continued to grow and are really making an impact. So if we get to 300 members, we'll give away 3 $100,000 grants. So in the model, we are attempting to give away grants in the amount of $100,000 a piece.
Yeah, which is huge for nonprofits. When you talk about being able to make an impact, $100,000 is a big amount of money.
Yes.
Share, because you mentioned there were 2 nonprofits this year that were impacted and each received over $100,000. So talk about those 2 nonprofits.
Oh my gosh, Jeremy, it was such a hard decision this year that all of the people who applied were so deserving and did such a great job. And our members ended up selecting Mending Hearts and then Tennessee Kids Belong. So Mending Hearts works with women to help them through a 2-year process of getting over drug addiction and have seen great success in our community. And Tennessee Kids Belong work with children, and our grant was going to children who are aging out of foster care. And the grant is going towards helping them make videos in an attempt for them to find their forever family before they turn 18. Because research shows that if an individual ages out of foster care without finding a forever family, then that creates all kinds of additional issues like homelessness and drug addiction and crime and so forth. So really, really great initiatives on both of those nonprofits' part.
Talk about the kind of teaching of philanthropy that goes with this, because I think, when you talk about women coming together, each having a vote, each putting in $1,000, there's that financial piece of it. But I think the other side of it is coming together and voting and learning and the site visits and getting more actively involved in the community. You are really teaching the major components of philanthropy of getting involved, physically seeing, serving, and learning more about where the gaps are and how you can be a solution. So I think there's a really cool kind of training aspect, equipping, empowering aspect to the work as well. Share a little of that experience.
Well, it's twofold. So for one, I personally can't write a $204,000 check, but if I join my $1,000 with other women, we together and collectively can combine our philanthropic and our financial power to create social change in our communities. So that's really the beauty of the model. It really makes us feel like we can make a difference, because I hear so many people say, I give a little here, I give a little there, and you want to help, but you don't know if it's really making a difference. And being part of Impact 100 Nashville, we are certainly making an impact on the people that we are providing our grants to. And then the other benefit, we also say we're a guilt-free organization, which means that you can write your check and vote. So that is the minimum requirement of being part of Impact 100, where a lot of times when you get involved with an organization, there's expectations that you give money or give your time and do all of this. So minimum is write your check and vote. And if that is all that you can do because of the time in your life, that we are thankful for that. There are also opportunities if you want to get involved with things. So we've got an advisory board, we have an executive board, we have committees for the grant committee I already mentioned, we have an event planning committee, a marketing committee, a sponsorship committee, and then membership committee, I think is the one I missed. So there's all kinds of ways to get involved. And we do hear a lot from those that get involved in our committees, especially the grant committee, how eye-opening it is to learn about everything that the nonprofits are doing in the Nashville community and what is out there, both the needs that are out there in our community and those amazing organizations that are working to fulfill those needs.
What's something that you personally have learned or gained from an experience standpoint working with Impact 100 Nashville?
Oh gosh, I have learned so much, and it has been one of the highlights of my past 7 years. So I've been involved with the organization all 7 years, and actually just this week, I have passed the baton on to a new president for 2022. So Ginger Duncan, who has been our membership director, will take on the president role for next year, and I'll become the past president. And one is just learning about the generosity of women and the idea of pooling our money together and building a community that is doing good in our community has been really rewarding for me. And then getting to know people from all different walks of life and all different parts of the greater Nashville community has also been really rewarding for me. And learning about, you know, the infrastructures that are in place and how people really collaborate to try and do good for our Nashville community.
What's been the feedback from both some of the other women and also the nonprofits? So what's been some of the feedback you've received?
Well, we've had nonprofits that have received our grant. We've actually had people that are part of their organization join Impact 100. So they learn about it, they love it, and then they join. Some of the feedback, like we just had our check signing ceremony, and we actually had the news come, and we were aired on the news for the first time in 7 years, which was really great. And the nonprofits were so excited about what they are going to be able to do for their recipients by receiving this kind of grant, and are really in awe that 204 women came together to help them and make that kind of impact. We used to have a small and new category where we were supporting up and coming nonprofits, and we may continue to do that. Like if we get to 325 members and we have 325,000, we might do, you know, 3 $100,000 grants and then one $25,000 grant. But the $100,000 grant is too large of a grant for a small and new. But we gave $25,000 to a nonprofit that said, put them on the map. You know, it's Mothers Against Murder. And it was started by a woman whose son was killed in a community in North Nashville, and they're looking at turning that around. They have programs for young men and women to help them get out of a situation where they are either in a gang situation or a place where they're in danger. And then they also help people who have been victims to violent crimes. And they started small. And once we gave them the $25,000, that elevated their entire operation, where they started partnering with the Nashville police. Police started going to their neighborhood, collaborating with them and working with them and helping them stop crime, especially violent crimes in their community. Really made a difference.
Yeah, I mean, and in a cool way, you look at kind of ending the cycle on one side, but yet helping to kind of launch and fuel and ignite a spark for another nonprofit, a smaller one. In a cool way, you kind of can be the best of both worlds for what you do and making an impact. And so I just think the future is very bright when you look at the model and what you're doing and the ability to open the access for more and more women to get involved, but ultimately to collectively make an even larger difference. Wrap up with words of encouragement. When you look at 2022 and beyond, what makes you excited for the future?
Well, I'm excited about the amazing leadership that we just put in place for 2022. It is a great group of 9 women that are really the working board. They're the ones that make things happen. We also have a great advisory board, and our membership is really, really excited. So we've already launched our recruitment process. You can go to our website. You can just Google Impact100 Nashville, and it should pop up in a Google search for you, and you can join on our website. We also have an easy giving program that we've implemented, so you don't have to give or write the check for $1,000 all at one time. You can do monthly payment plans as long as the full amount is by the end of May of this year. So we're trying to make it easy for people to be able to join. We are at this point in time, I didn't look before the call, but we have the highest membership at this point in our recruiting process that we've ever had. So we're on track for the 300 members. And I really believe in my heart of hearts, we're going to exceed 300 members.
Absolutely. I love it. Website, easy place to go. Nashville.impact100council.org is an easy place. Also Impact100 Nashville on Facebook, Impact100 Nashville on LinkedIn and Instagram as well. So lots of easy places to learn more and to follow your efforts and get involved. Michele, thank you for all you and your amazing team do. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. Nice to see you.